Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm working on my 98.5 24 valve Cummins. I finally figured out some electrical problems I've been having with it. It turned out to be the PCM. So the PCM, or powertrain control module, is pretty much your brains of your vehicle. It controls many things, such as your gauge cluster, for example. It also controls or regulates your alternator. So if you are experiencing PCM problems, it's very possible that your alternator will not charge your batteries up. If your batteries aren't charging, you don't really suspect the PCM as being the culprit. Most guys will be like, well, my pickup's not charging, so it must be the alternator. Well, as you can see, the guy that had this pickup before me replaced the alternator because his batteries weren't charging, which makes sense, but it's a brand new alternator and the batteries still don't charge. So that points to a different problem. The PCM hardly ever goes bad in these pickups, but when they do, it can make your vehicle act pretty funky. All the symptoms I've been having: gauge cluster, I'll show you that in a second, what I was seeing. Charging, like I went over. And another problem you might have is a parasitic draw, where you actually have your pickup turned off and the batteries are drained either overnight or within a day or two, and you're going to work in the morning and you try to turn your pickup over and it's just dead. So that could be another symptom. And if your AC doesn't work either, your PCM is actually in charge of engaging your AC clutch. So that could be another problem you could be experiencing. Okay guys, so enough chit chat here. We'll go and start the pickup and I'll show you what my gauge cluster actually looks like. So we're in the cockpit here and I'm gonna show you what I've been seeing on my cluster. So I'm gonna turn the key just to the on position. So you can see when you turn the key on into the on position, usually you'll see your voltage meter go up. As you can see in this case, it's just dead, not moving. And also your fuel gauge will go up as soon as you turn your key on. That is dead too. And look here, my odometer is flashing and it's not, when I drive it, it's not counting miles or anything. So I'm gonna start the pickup here. So this is what my cluster is doing with the pickup on. As you can see, the only gauge that's really working is the RPM gauge. Okay. So from seeing that, I figured, well, maybe my cluster's bad. Well, I did a lot of form reading and half the cases, yeah, it ended up being some guys just had a bad cluster. Well, I took my cluster out of my 9812 valve, which will work for this 98.5 24 valve, swapped them out and still getting the exact same thing. So I started kind of looking at wiring and fuses. You got two fuses right here. I can't remember which one. I think it's like, was it 17 and 9? I don't remember, but there's two fuses there that control your cluster. I checked those, I checked wires, was puzzled, and I had to further dive into the problem that I'm having on the internet. So after chasing down wires and checking fuses with no luck, I finally, last resort, came to the conclusion that the PCM has to be bad. I checked all the grounds. I mean, everything was good. The PCM being bad is really a last resort, and in this case, in my case, it indeed was a PCM bad. So how did I test it? Well, it just so happens that my dad has a 98.5 Cummins also. His is an on-max, this is a manual. The PCM will work with each other. So what I did was I took my PCM and I put it on his pickup to see if the symptoms were the same. So when I put my PCM on his pickup, I was having the exact same problems that I'm having on my pickup. So that led me to believe that the PCM is actually bad. If I was having an actual wiring problem with this harness, then my PCM would have worked on this pickup, but it didn't. So okay, so my PCM's bad. Okay, so why is my PCM bad is the next thing. If I buy a new PCM, am I gonna fry that one too? Because I mean, this thing, you can just tell by looking at it, it definitely got hot at one time. It looks a little black, honestly. I was kind of reading online, and this blue wire right here goes to your alternator right there. What happens is if your alternator shorts, the short can follow this blue wire right into your PCM and fry your board. Is pretty much what I gathered from reading online. To fix this, I'm going to put an inline fuse on this blue wire right here, a 7.5 amp inline fuse. So if that ever happens again, it'll pop the fuse, the $1 fuse, instead of a $300 to $800 powertrain control module. Your PCM is located on the passenger side firewall right behind your air filter. So I just moved mine aside. There's 3 bolts back there. I already took mine off. It's right here. There's 3 bolts back there. Unbolt them and unplug these 3 connectors. Make sure that you disconnect your batteries. I haven't done that yet, but I will. Disconnect your batteries before you unplug these. So here I am with my bad PCM. So I went on eBay and actually just ordered a used PCM for a manual transmission for about $300. You actually can send these in to get them fixed. I opted just to gamble, roll the dice, and buy a used PCM. And before I plug in my new PCM, I'm going to do the inline fuse mod just to be 100% sure that once I plug in my new PCM that I paid $300 for, that I'm not just going to fry it right away. I think what happened was the old alternator that was on here that was replaced might have been the culprit. I got the new, it looks like a newer alternator was put in before I owned the vehicle, so odds are it won't, but just for that extra precaution, I highly recommend doing this to your pickup as well, just for another safeguard. The PCM, ECM, and injection pump all share the same 20 amp fuse located in your fuse box. This is just an extra protection against your expensive computer that you don't want to go out. Alright guys, so you got 3 connections here. The furthest one has a blue wire in it, right here. Just gonna snip it. About right there. Okay, so we got our wires exposed there. Now, already crimped on some butt connectors with some heat shrink, and we're just gonna basically splice this fuse in line. Just like so. I recommend probably soldering this, a little more guarantee, that it won't come apart. But I'm just gonna do this real quick with these butt connectors. Okay, now we'll put on our heat shrink. And we're done. And that's basically the mod here. Just a simple basic fix for added insurance. Okay, now I think we're ready to put the new PCM in. Alright, so here's my new used PCM I bought off of eBay for $300. You can either buy used or you can get the PCM that you have repaired. It's up to you. But this is kind of where the PCM goes right there. Once it's done, it'll get screwed in right there. Before I screw it in, I'm just gonna test it to make sure it works. And I'll plug it in and we'll go inside the cab and start the pickup and see if it indeed fixed my problem. Okay, new PCM is plugged in. I will hook up the batteries. So with the new PCM in, let's see if we have any change in my issues. So I'm going to turn the key into the on position. Would you look at that? The fuel gauge started working. And also I'm getting a read on the voltmeter. Alright, so we're going to start it up and see if I get oil pressure. And then maybe I'll even drive around the yard to see if the speedometer works. And would you look at that? We got oil pressure back. And look at that. I'm getting 14 volts, probably 14.1 or 14.2. That means my alternator is actually charging my batteries now. That's pretty awesome. And then also my odometer stopped blinking too, if you look. That's good news. That's good. That's great. I'll probably take it around the yard here and see if my speedometer works too. Alright guys, I'm just putzing along the yard here. So you can see my speedometer's working again. I'd say I got her fixed. That's awesome. No more sputtering when I rev it up either. It's looking pretty good. Alright guys, well thanks for watching my video on diagnosing a PCM problem. If you're experiencing any issues like I was, it might be your PCM. But keep in mind that the PCM is very last resort type of stuff. They don't go out that often. So make sure before you jump to conclusion that your PCM is out, make sure you rule out all wires, all fuses, all sensors, just so we don't go spending money on parts that you don't need. So I hope this video helps some of you guys. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to see a lot more Cummins videos. Especially look for this pickup in the future. This is my clapped out Cummins project. There's a lot wrong with it, so there'll be a lot of working on it and a lot of more videos to come. So make sure you subscribe. Thanks. And the first test drive of the clapped out Cummins was a success. Although in the 2 miles I've driven it finally, I got a brand new custom exhaust. Wow. Wow. I heard it dragging about a quarter mile away from the farm, and I was like, what in the hell is that noise? And of course I'm like, oh shit, that must be the exhaust. Is that like a axle dump? A new axle dump the kids are doing or what? But anyway, make sure to subscribe for more shit like this.